Oh, all right. Welcome to another enthralling podcast about water sports and OTAs and AI. It's been a while, I think, since we've had a super smart, I mean, minus me, of course, super intelligent, in the weeds kind of like tech guy today. Greg and I are joined by maybe a familiar face for some. How many years has it been, Christian, since you've been on?
2021 was the last time we had him on the show.
Yeah, so if you're unfamiliar, the um, man, the polarizing, really smart, operator slash tech guy, Christian Watts, man, how you doing, brother?
Good, Kevin. Thanks for the intro. It was the worst possible start, but I like the way you kicked into gear there and kicked in some compliments. I always appreciate that.
I'm like that guy from that other country. Who knows what that
Yeah,
accent is, man?
who
I
knows?
think he's from Ireland.
Something like that. Australia, New Zealand, England, who knows?
Are you chewing gum, Kevin?
Nope, I'm not.
Sure about that? I hear
I'm
some smacking.
positive.
Okay.
Well, that's why we have editing. Yeah, so I'm not going to get into the whole story. I just chew a lot of gum. We'll leave it at that, Christian. And
It sounds like
no,
some internal rule that you just got busted, and now you have to have a
There you
conversation, a
go.
side
Appreciate
conversation.
it.
I don't
Thank
know.
well,
you.
I was eating an apple on the last one, but in the I was doing it for a reason, right? Like I'm a fan of. Are you familiar with Pierre Poliette?
No.
So he ran for PM of Canada, and he looked like he was going to win. But then obviously some things like, yeah, he's like more, probably over here he'd be like a moderate or like moderate left. But in Canada, they're like, man, this guy's like alt right. And I mean, so he was like the Canada's Trump, but he did this interview where he's talking to a reporter, and he's like, the reporter's trying to gaslight him, and he's just like shucking and diving like pretty good. He's like, some people say, and he's just like, what people? And then he takes a huge bite of this apple, and he's mic'd up, so it was like chewing it so loud, and I love that, and I wanted to create. I was hoping we'd get a nice viral moment if I ate an apple. So during that show, I asked Greg. I was like, man, I chew gum, and it's just really loud and normal. So now I'm in a mic. And Greg's like, yeah, it's really obnoxious. I hate it. I was like, why didn't you tell me, dude? I would have stopped. I'd have never chewed a piece of gum. I'm sorry, dude. That's so rude.
Well,
So yeah, a little bit of a
Tristan,
backstory.
we have an editor, and he just he'll just edit it. He won't think anything of it. But I know, we've had a conversation a long time ago. He's like, yeah, it would help if you guys didn't eat while you were on the show. It make it go faster. So
There
I
should be
like
an
the
AI
thinking.
filter, right? For like get rid of any
yeah,
gum chewing and Kevin's like swearing and stuff. I mean, that would be there'd be nothing left, but still, there
No
should be
way.
some tools.
no,
No,
we're all
keeping the.
organic. We
Hopefully,
rarely
we get a
edit the
tool that
show.
just replaces me entirely on this thing, dude.
That's
I'd be
possible.
like super excited about that, man. So, Christian, why don't you give us a little bit of little background, because it has been 4 years. I think we kind of change segments all the time with new users and stuff. So, give us a little bit who you are, what you do.
Yeah, live in San Francisco. Most of my life ran the hop on, hop off buses in San Francisco, and still sort of operating. I do it under partnership now, but then started Magpie right before COVID. So Magpie is a content channel manager. So we manage product content, so your tours and activities products. We manage it on Magpie, and we distribute that content to OTAs and Google and various other places. So always been in the tours, activities, experiences, whatever you want to call it, space. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, and like let me don't undersell here. I feel as though like every time I talk to somebody, when people want to get more visibility, at the very least on the things to do category, it's almost universal without exception. Where they're like, oh yeah, we use Magpie, we have to use Magpie. We don't know how to get it on the like this awesome visibility and piece of
Mhm.
content for direct search, and it's like they have to use Magpie to do that. I've never met a single person who's like, I can get you on things to do like without Magpie.
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, we've got a strong integration. We've got a great partnership with Google, and we spend a lot of time making sure that's up to date, making sure we're up to date on the latest. Because it's, as you know, with Google, everything moves every day. You know, you have to just keep track constantly on what's happening. So
So let
we
me
do
ask
that.
you this about Magpie, if you don't mind. So do you guys help? And I mean, like this probably is just like a soft pitch here for you guys, which I love to do because I know you guys won't, especially you nice guys over there on the West Coast and in the Tourpreneur gang. You're like never sell myself overtly, and it drives me nuts. But I mean, like, do you guys optimize for like maps as well? So like, and can you guys get help with that as well on the Google side?
Not really. I mean, as far as the things to do, products feature on maps, yes, but that goes down a rabbit hole pretty quickly, as you know, when you get into Google
Yeah.
business profiles, and everyone's always asking us, how do I get my new business profile approved and postcards and this and that, and we don't get into that. So maps, just as far as the Google things to do piece appears on
Yeah,
that, which
still,
is
but
more and more. Yeah,
that's huge. Like because
yeah.
it's very difficult to get seen in things to do, and I don't think in water sports because we're very focused on the bottom of the funnel, short acquisition window. I think oftentimes that water sports really overlooks that top of funnel, which is so important. I just don't know anybody who's ever traveled without putting those three words into a search bar somewhere to figure out like as a part of like what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
it's yeah, go ahead, Gwen.
I was going to say the things to do. And if you're new to this, when we say things to do, we're referring to these new carousel that you see when you search like things to do in a destination. You'll see on Google there's these cards of activities. There's maybe 4 or 5 at a time, and you can scroll horizontally, and those activities come from a feed, either through somewhere like Magpie or an OTA. So I mean, if anyone that searches your destination, you're going to see these carousels. But that's what we're referring to is Google things to do, and there's a free component and there's a paid component to it. But I don't know how deep we want to get on. Have we talked about Google things to do, Kevin, on the show?
No, I mean, if we have, it's been a long time, but I mean, hey, we got the guy right here. So, I
Yeah, we
mean,
do.
I mean, like, but yeah, let's get into that a little bit. I mean, I appreciate you carving out time to talk about some of the AI and Airbnb experience and things that you're an expert on, but I would assume that you're the most expert on your company and what it is that you guys do. So walk us through some of the challenges and how Magpie people or Magpie helps solve problems for operators.
Yeah, in general, I mean, we're all about distribution, right? So I've always been a big believer in distribution. With the double deckers, we had 150 reseller partners, which is a lot, and that doesn't include like concierges and local distribution. So I've always been a believer in diversifying that. If you get one that's too, a lot of people have like 80% from like Viator or something, right? Which is a huge risk. They tweak the algorithm and their business is gone. So I think having diversity, being in all the places, obviously your own website is the most important, but having more channels in more places is equally diversifying. So we just help with that. We help you manage your products in one place. We help you optimize those products, and then we get them into the OTAs, into the other resellers, make sure the local concierge is up to date on the current product information. We're just making sure your products are everywhere and they're standard and they're true and up to date.
And I think when you're talking to a lot of operators in the hop out, like you said, 150 distribution partners. That's wild. Here in this market, and other markets are different for water sports, but Destin's a great example where they're like, I had somebody text me the other day. They were like, "Yeah, where else? We have a website and we have Trip Shock. I'm like, where else can we sell?" I'm like, I don't know, nowhere. Stop giving Viator any more money. There is no Viator now they're like, we want 25% because just to wit, even 4 years ago, when you guys were like 30%, I was like 30%, and they're like overseas it's 40%. I think we were at 12% here, and there was maybe 3 operators that were using Viator. And before the mics went hot, Christian and I were just kind of waxing on. I was like, man, the OTAs are here now. Get Your Guide is here. TripAdvisor's here, and they're like grabbing market share. So I just like at the lower base level, a lot of you guys that are listening, you might only have 1 or 2 distribution partners, but I have I don't know, 8, 9, maybe. I mean, and they might not even do that much revenue for us, but I want to get sold everywhere. When we're cold, I want to warm things up, and when we're hot, I want to be hotter. And so I can say that my partner who manages that, it's a lot of work on his end, like managing all the content, making sure our prices are correct across all of the different platforms, and it is a lot of management to it, and I think in water sports it's not something that we really think about a lot, just because most operators do direct it. Sorry. Unless, but like Key West, for example, I only think they have the 2 or 3 down there, but man, like it is same, like 80-90%. They always like TripAdvisor. That's what we do. But I think it's a really important piece, regardless if you have 2, 3 partners, or as robust as somebody like hop on, hop off tours, or like Christian here, 150 resellers you guys had.
Yeah, right before COVID, we're down to less than 100 now, and out of the 150, they weren't all producing. Just over 100 were probably producing monthly, but that's extreme,
was that including
right?
concierge? Was that like a concierge networks as well?
No, there'd be another 100 concierges right on
So
top
you're
of
talking
that.
strictly like resellers.
Yeah,
OTAs.
like
Wow, I didn't know 100 existed that would even. Well, I guess like your San Francisco is such a worldwide destination that you could plug into all these, international OTAs as well. But wow,
yeah,
and how many are integrated out of those 100?
probably only half.
Yeah,
There's still a lot of those are sort of travel agent networks, and a lot of international that they still just email us. We get them so far in advance, it's fine. It doesn't. I mean, it's
yeah,
still a hassle to plug them all in. So yeah, probably half of them are advanced bookings. They book in January for the summer,
mhm.
February for the summer, and then the other half are probably the connected ones who do need that last minute availability. So you need a res tech obviously for that. Listen, 150 is extreme, right? I don't think most people in the country should be doing 150. We were in a really competitive market, which is San Francisco. It's very international, and we're all about volume, just getting the most we can. But I think everybody should probably diversify a bit more than they currently do.
Yeah.
Um,
If you're a domestic destination, typically like 3 to 5, is where you probably will sit. If you're in an international destination with a lot of inbound international, like New York City, San Francisco, there's just a lot more people coming from places where you won't be able to reach
yeah,
domestically. So
yeah.
it's always going to be more outside. But like, in Viator and Get Your Guide are taking up majority of the market share. It's it leans heavily to those. Um,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
OTAs.
So, well, man, I want to have you like something. Well, especially, and again, man, I appreciate your time. So we like want to give like big shout out to Magpie if we can help it, man. I know we started working with somebody recently, and that's exactly what they said. They're like, yeah, we use Magpie, and I'm like, I know that guy. Maybe he can get me. He can give me a discount. I did that to somebody, like I don't even remember what it was, like where it was like a warranty issue with one of our another product that we use, and my operations manager called me, and so we have a sponsor partner for the event, a great. I love them, right? Like these guys offered me a job, and I'm like, man, I have 5 jobs. But Track out of Croatia, and like something happened with their unit, and we were like arguing with their customer service. My guy was arguing with their customer service, so I just gave him the CEO's email. I was like, this. Like it's signed, dude. See if he can take care of us. You know what I mean? Like that's what kind of cheap fuck I am, man. You know what I mean? It's like what is even Magpie, right? Like it depends on how many partners you have, but it's pretty reasonable, I think, right?
Yeah,
$200 a month or something.
we start at 69 a month for most. I mean, most people fall into that, and then we go up from there. We've got enterprise clients paying many hundreds or thousands, but for most operators that we know, it's 69, or there's a 119 as well, depending on how many products
Let me make a
and what
note here.
services.
Email Christian for $10 a month discount
10.
for Magpie.
I thought you were going to say 10 like total. I didn't. Okay, 10 discount. We can
So So we want to talk about a couple different things today, and let's start with, since we're on the OTA topic, let's talk about Airbnb experience, because we haven't really talked about it much on the show,
No, we
and
want people to listen. No, can we like
yeah.
do OTAs last? I know that's what you wanted. Like, let's talk about OTAs or fucking
Well,
Google
Airbnb
pay per
is
click.
I mean, it's a
Can
big
we
deal.
do AI, please? If I'm gonna sleep on this shit, can I do it
We'll
toward
do
the end
both.
of the thing?
You want to do it at the end of the thing? Okay, let's talk about the AI
Yeah,
website
dude.
stuff.
'Cause
Go
I'm just
ahead. You
I'll
can
give you
start it.
guys a break from me for the last 15 minutes or so, and it'll work for everybody. Whatever
Okay,
you
go
want,
ahead.
Greg. All right, so Airbnb experience.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay,
I love
so
it.
so there's been a
Whatever you want, Greg.
relaunch. There's been a relaunch of Airbnb experiences. They tried it a couple years ago, Christian, and it kind of fell on its head. I don't think they were prepared. And then they just restarted it. It looks like they have some integrations now, but you put some you have been posting on LinkedIn about the restart and a couple of your thoughts to it. So maybe just give us a breakdown of like where they were, where they are now, and what you see happening.
Yeah, I think the initial launch of experiences was 2016,
Oh, okay, it wasn't that long
and
ago.
it's kind of not done that much. I know some operators do really well. I think they just kind of got it dialed in, and they do really well, but it's not become mainstream, right? And if you look at the big destinations, I always joke about goat yoga because that's kind of the epitome of an Airbnb experience. And I remember going to Orlando a couple of years ago, and then like 5 out of the top 10 products were like goat yoga or come pet the rabbits or something. I'm thinking this is
We're
not
what? Goat yoga?
like you're gonna do yoga with baby goats and they
And they
stand
shit
on your
on you.
back
Yeah,
and I
it's
don't.
serious. I'm one of my
Yeah,
friends that does it.
yeah, you'd love it, Kevin. But
Yeah.
that was the previous thing, and it was all about being unique and stuff that you can't find on Viator and Get Your Guide, etc. And they launched yesterday. They launched yesterday, so May 13th they launched. They relaunched. Big thing in LA with Brian Chesky on the stage and everything, and they launched services. So now you can find a private chef and a masseur and all this other stuff. Get your hair done, get your nails done, whatever you guys like to do. But they also relaunched experiences, and the big thing I think for us, for our industry, is they've kind of opened it up now to tour operators, to more professional. Before it was really about the host, right? It was meant to be the host of the house who does goat yoga on a Sunday morning on the side, and now they've opened it up and they're accepting tour companies, professional tour companies with real businesses who can load their products on. So that just really launched yesterday, and it's going to really open the door for a lot of us in the industry to load up our products, and hopefully it could become the biggest reseller, right? Potentially. They're everywhere, and they're across big destinations, small destinations, as you guys know, and they've got the homes business already sitting there, and if they can get that cross sell worked out, there's potentially a ton of volume there.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised they didn't just work with Viator and pull in supply. That way they wouldn't have to go and source it and manage all of it. It just would seem like a better play, but
Yeah, a lot of people have suggested that, right? But if you can watch the video on YouTube of Chesky announcing it, and it's an announcement, so it's PR, and he says what he wants us to hear. But he also really thinks about the uniqueness, which is kind of ironic because the tour companies are not unique often. But he wants it to be unique. He's also launched originals, which is a bit like Get Your Guide originals or TUI originals. So products that they've worked with in destination to create innovative experiences. So that's a big part of it as well. They're working with celebrities for that stuff as well, which will be a big PR splash. So they're trying to be different. He thinks it's all about the locals and getting the local tour in the market. But in actual fact, the launch probably for us was more about getting the tour companies on there.
uh
Wow. Have you
go
looked
ahead.
at like have you looked at their like the resource management and they're going to be like fully stacked, connect with Fair Harbor and be able to manage like big volume, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I heard the
Ha-
first. Yeah,
no, I was just going to ask, have you looked at like the booking flow? I mean, how's the UX?
the UX is similar to it is now, to book a home. I mean, it's great.
No,
If you
I
want to
mean on
load it,
the activity side.
yeah, it's good. I mean, it's already been there, right? They relaunched it yesterday with a new app, and the new app's better than it was. It's pretty clean. I heard the fastest way to load products on is to get a Magpie account and then send your products from Magpie to Airbnb. That's what the
Cool.
word on the street is.
Done.
So
Yeah.
Magpie has a
For
direct integration.
59 a month, dude. I'm in. Sold.
Yeah, we built a through their API. We built a builder, so you can take your products from Magpie, and we build a full product on Airbnb with the itinerary and all the stuff they need. And then there's a handful of res techs that are already connected. So that's obviously key for big companies, right? They need that availability to pull from the same place as the rest of the bookings. So now you can just hook that right into your main res tech.
Are you required to have a res tech to work with Airbnb?
No, you can manage it still within their app. If you want to go in and add and deduct availability, then you can do that.
Here's the 10 to 30% question. What are they taking for a cut?
I don't know if it's fixed. They've been very quiet on that. It's lower than most OTAs.
Oh yeah, that's where they
Um,
start.
yeah, well, maybe so.
They're like, let's do 10, and then like 3 years later, you're like, man, that's like a healthy cut you guys are
Hang on a
taking. That's
second. It's like a phone bill. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
Airbnb, I will say, is really good at curation because they have markets where there's thousands of hosts, and they all those hosts seem to do pretty well, even the ones that aren't doing a lot that don't have a lot of availability. So I'm guessing that Airbnb will probably be really good at curating the products to make sure that they're the uniqueness of each one, because right now we have a curation problem with OTAs. Everything's commoditized. It's all the same with different variations of the title. And um,
This is why it's so astounding to me, and that like I don't hate OTAs as a partner. I love OTAs as a partner. I hate OTAs as a consumer. Like, I have you ever had to deal with TripAdvisor as a consumer of like trying to cancel something or deal with something? It's always India. Let me call them. There's, you know what I mean? Like customer service wise, from a customer facing standpoint, I never book OTAs. And then I also look at the products and I look at the marketplace. And I don't think they do a wonderful job of selling it. Like I go over direct, like that. For example, I've been booking like activities for our camping trip, and I was looking at stuff in like Utah. And don't get me wrong, if you on first like glance, you see like a $1,400 product versus an $1,100 product, and you see it on the OTA, that's all fine and well. But as far as like the value that you're getting, like it never really comes across to me. So it's always just perplexing to me that people actually book on OTAs. Maybe that's just me, but I have questions. I want to navigate around a website, not like have this sort of like listicle and sort of bad pictures. I don't know. I mean, do you guys book through OTAs?
yeah, I do.
Yeah, hotels. I do almost. I have almost the exact opposite opinion on that. I
Oh,
almost exclusively book hotels on OTAs, and I try and book them direct. And I get so frustrated with the amount of hotels that have bad checkouts, and
It's the
um,
independent websites. Like
yeah,
that's the problem. Or independent hotels, I should say. I went to Brooklyn for the Tourpreneur
yeah. I was
event,
just gonna
and
say,
I
I'm like,
booked.
do you not have Hilton or Marriott apps, dude? Like,
Oh,
they're
yeah. If it's Hilton,
fantastic.
if it's a brand hotel, that's a whole different story. But like a lot of these independent hotels, they are the absolute worst booking experience. I don't know why there isn't like good software out there for boutique hotels. But yeah, I was in Brooklyn. I booked a hotel. It was an awful experience. I got hit with all these fees. It was like they just didn't do a good job disclosing. With Booking.com, I know that whatever I see, that's what I'm going to pay. In most cases, they don't usually do this like, here's another $100 when you check in type thing. But it's just a better experience. It's clean. All my
Fucking
payment methods are
shocking that
saved.
two guys that make their nut from OTAs are like fans of OTAs. It's really
I'm
You
sorry
guys
that you.
look at the great customer experience on OTAs. You ever have something go wrong and you got to fucking I don't talk to, you know what I mean?
I mean, to be fair, the one
Virtually.
example you came up with was TripAdvisor, who doesn't sell hotels. So I think maybe you've lost your credibility in this argument from when you started it.
I listen. I don't book like mom and pop, bed and breakfasts over in the Shire or wherever fucking you go for vacation. I go to JW Marriott, dude, like an American.
That's
Check
that's
the
what it's
flag,
come down
buddy.
to. That's what the arguments come down to.
Well, okay, I mean,
We're gonna get racist against the English guy. That's what it's.
You can't be racist against what? We're both as white as the driven snow. Maybe you more so than me. I got a little color, you know what I mean? But okay, so like, what are you talking about? Like hotels? Like you're doing like independent hotels and stuff like that
I
I
book
always
anything.
book.
I'll
Yeah, I
use
always
I use Booking normally. The Booking app is great. Especially if I'm in say Europe, I just trust they have coverage. They have everything. I trust the price is always going to be close to the best price. And it's I can check out in 20 seconds, and
Yep.
that to me is great. And the reviews, right? Massive volume of reviews. There's problems with reviews, but when you've got 10,000,
Yeah.
it's usually pretty consistent.
I don't know,
Also,
man.
independent hotel websites, the reviews could be biased in a lot of way if they have reviews on the site or like their Google local listing. I mean, come on, our Google local listings are not like a very accurate depiction of review score because the savvy operators are only sending their 4 and 5 star review, or well, you know how it is when you book a tour and then you click like I didn't have a good time and it sends you to the customer service and not to the Google local page. So it's like everything's skewed a little bit. But booking.com, I feel like those reviews, they're not doing things like
I
that.
mean,
Like
when
it's a
I
very
initially,
accurate.
and I'm not walking back what I said at all. I mean, I'm a Hilton Honors member, Diamond. I love Hilton properties. Well, not really. I accidentally got an American Express Hilton, screwed up on the points thing. I thought I was getting something else. So now by default, I just do it. But I'm also a Marriott Bonvoy member. So I don't know. I mean, it's like I mean, I like booking direct because I like the perks that I get of being like a member of a program and the discounts I get and the points on my credit card I get. So, I mean, I experience the same thing when I book through their apps. Now, again, like, I mean, I was joking, but I also wasn't. Like, to Christian's point, like, yes, if I was booking like some like Airbnb or Airbnb, Jesus Christ, a bed and breakfast somewhere that's like they don't have connectivity. Yeah, I get it, man. I mean, hell, I'm staying at mostly like KOAs on our trip because it was just easy to do. You know what I mean? So I get the side from both, but I'm more talking about like activities and experiences. So you guys both still book activities and experience through third party resellers?
I don't think I ever have. I usually call someone.
Yeah, yeah, same.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say there's a couple of situations. So when I went to New Zealand, I booked on OTAs because of the payment types and also just the security of knowing that I'm booking with a known. I think I used TripAdvisor, Viator to book. I just felt more secure than booking direct, and their websites were not really well put together, and the online
I feel
checkout.
like you're the type too that checks travel advisories too. You're like, what? What's
No,
happening in
but
New
I,
Zealand?
I
Is there
feel, and I
any
think a
scary
lot of people who
tourism
book
stuff I should know? Get out of here.
a lot of people who book OTAs, there's a reason why, and a lot of times there's something about it that makes them feel more comfortable than going direct. Or like I was telling you not too long ago, Kevin, about like depending on what activity you're buying in our area in Destin, if the sun's shining and they're on vacation, they'll wake up, they'll get on Google or wherever, they'll search for boat tours or boat rentals, and they don't click too many different websites or activities before they make a decision. In fact, I think 90% of the first click interactions will purchase within 0 to 2 hours. So it's a really fast transaction. And it's not so much about OTA or booking direct. It's about who's getting that first click. And will you answer most of their questions in the shortest period of time? Meaning that do you have stuff above the fold? So it's not about OTA versus direct. It's just about people getting what they want as fast as they can.
Well, I can tell you this, man, and I know you think you slam dunked it, but we're both going to be on the side of the ocean begging for change the days that water sport operators are like, yeah, it's 40% cost to acquire. Like, game over, man. And don't get me wrong, I understand I'm pivoting over to the business side of it. But I just, I don't. I'm all set, dude. I get into a different business at that point. 30 to 40%. Like it's not there at that point anymore. I know operators who don't even use OTAs that much, and they're already operating on 15%, 20%
Well,
margins
we're gonna
at
become
best.
platformed. If the OTA market share continues to grow as it has been, if let's say they get to 50% market share, at that point, most of the small to medium sized operators will be platformed. Their direct
Yeah,
bookings will be harder and harder to come by. I mean, what do you think, Christian?
Well, maybe this is the segue to AI. 'Cause I think
Yeah,
everything is going to get thrown up in the air, right?
100%. Yeah.
With what's coming next, and I don't think any. Well, I know nobody has the answers. We can all speculate on where it's going. I think that I think Google's possibly in trouble. I think the OTAs are looking at this, thinking, "Are we in trouble?" They could be. They could be in trouble in 2 years. I'm not saying they will be, but it's so difficult to predict what we're going to be doing. If everyone doesn't start at Google as they do now, nobody kind of knows what to do after that, right? We've all built our lives and our businesses based on the fact that people start on a search box called Google or the browser, wherever it is, and everything kind of goes from there, whether that's maps or just search or whatever. But if that's not the case anymore, it's brand new rules, right? That we have to work out. Maybe it's a more even playing field. I kind of feel like it will be, but it could also go the other way.
Yeah.
so if
So
you if,
after you made your prediction, I'm sorry. Just
go
to
ahead.
what he just said, I've got my insight into this, and I didn't make like a LinkedIn post. I made a 2 sentence thing that got like nobody ever was like, we don't even know what you're talking about. But so it did get me to thinking about this, like this idea of selling prompt data. So if, and again, this is what, right, Google, but I mean to the end user being, the person buying media, right? So if you are selling data, I mean, like, is there a world where they're almost like selling leads and quality tier leads, right? So if I'm going in prompts, then it's not just actually, but as you get closer to this decision making process and further down in the funnel, you could almost create like a massive list of qualified leads that not you're just serving ads to, but actually selling data to. And that's the next question, right? Is like we've all been opting in for data and we've all been giving our data, and that's what they've been leveraging. It would stand to reason that they would then create a better system of monetization for that data, or a multi-faceted approach to how that data gets resold. That was a thought I had, because again, like when you go to places like Angie's List, and if you even take it away from tours and activities or hotels or whatever, but it's like, man, if I'm on the verge of purchasing a new roof or a home remodel or buying a home, and there's quality metrics in there that are like, man, obviously, like, I mean, it doesn't even take AI. A crafty salesman could look at somebody's search history and be like, this guy's ready to buy a 20 or 30,000 or $50,000 roof. I just wonder if they would start to leverage data not just for marketing but for actual sales.
Maybe it gets us back to the same place, right? So I assume going forwards that the start point is going to be ChatGPT or something like that. Whether it could be Google Gemini, but I think the leader today is ChatGPT, right? That's going to
Yeah.
become the place you start, like you used to start at Google, and that's where you do your search, or that's where you start your agent to go and do some research, or it's where you do tasks. It's kind of your operating system going forwards. And that's where I'll do my search for things to do in Destin. And then my agent's going to go and spend either half a second, or if I wanted to do a bit more deeper research, it'll spend 10 minutes. It's going to come back with some stuff. And I'm going to say, hey, that boat thing sounds good to the island with my 5 buddies. And it's going to go off and find a bunch of products. And I think ChatGPT then becomes the affiliate, right? Which is maybe what you're kind of saying. And you've put a bid in on the other end of it to buy leads or to buy
Yep.
clicks. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not clicks, but it's just you're buying leads, or maybe you're just paying commission to ChatGPT. But ultimately, it's all about me going on your boat, and you're willing to give up a certain amount of money to reach me. And ChatGPT just becomes that middleman now, trying to
And
work out
and
where to send people.
It's going to be
and
native advertising in their responses. So when ChatGPT gives you those three options of different boat tours, One of those options will probably be a paid sponsor. ChatGPT most likely will disclose it, but still is going to add value because it's not going to give bad information. But I feel like that is going to be the next step for monetization that's really going to turn things on their head, because it's only a matter of time. Like, they're not going to make millions of dollars, billions of dollars on a $20 a month subscription. There's bigger things afoot. But Christian, one thing I want to ask you is, if you have the OTAs that have, hundreds of thousands of products, but then also you have the res techs, and these AIs are going to be crawling both OTA platforms, marketplaces, and the res techs for product when people ask for suggestions. And it seems to me that when this really starts to kick into high gear, what OTAs have an advantage of beyond the local operator? Because essentially it's just going to recommend the best options, and those best options could be all direct options, and the OTAs get looked over altogether. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think if it all happened today, the OTAs win, because the OTAs have the product data, they have it structured, they have the information, they have better product pages than most operators. But I always kind of look at it like this: we're maybe getting to the place where there's an ideal search, right? And I don't think of it. We search Destin boat activities because we know how Google works, and that 3-word search term is the most likely to get me what I want. But what I'm really thinking about is, I'm going to be at Destin on the weekend. I kind of want a place to have dinner on Friday night, maybe Saturday afternoon. I wouldn't mind taking a boat, do some water skiing or whatever for the 2 hours in the afternoon, starting at 2 o'clock. That's what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. But I turn that into a simple search, but then that becomes my new search, and I'm just kind of talking to my agent back and forth, and it's remembering these chains of thought I'm having, and it in the background is going off and finding all the results, and it's filtering all the results. It's saying, well, I've managed to work out that this one on Viator is the same as this one direct. The one on Viator's got this free cancellation. The direct one's offering me a free upgrade to whatever, and it's doing all of that for me in half a second, and it's getting me the best result for me, right? It's the agent's working for me, so it's going to tell me the best thing after it's been through all the options. And even when it's found the top 3, which is what I want to see, it's still able to go back to you as an operator and say, give me 20%, or I won't show you link. I'll show number 4.
So you're like, kind of what you're saying is like the way like Google has kind of like programmed us to look for things in a certain way. So if you're like, boat tour near me, it's like, yeah, some people had said that, but realistically, that we talk to Google in this sort of language that, we've kind of created together. And what ChatGPT is now doing is more creating a conversational type of experience, to where you're like talking with, Christian and I. I'm like, hey man, I'm going to Destin. Didn't you rent a boat from somewhere? And he's like, yeah. But to your point, like, and I would like to touch on your post about, this idea of like websites disappearing. Like, ChatGPT is by no means even close to the final version. Like, this is a very basic version of what this is all going to look like. So you had kind of posited some things in your post that like you're just sort of like giving some ideas, like what the future of a different UX on ChatGPT, or a better marketed experience. I mean, Sam Altman has actually talked about this, correct? About this is not even the most like addictive version that we're going to put out, or best marketed version, I should say.
Yeah, and again, I go back to me as I'm the customer again, right? And ChatGPT is my agent. It's giving me the best results. And I actually don't want to go to your website. I don't care about your website. I just want to get a boat. I want to get the best boat in Destin to go for 2 hours in the afternoon. So don't make me go to your website and look at your homepage and read all this stuff. If I want to go and find it, I will. But I just want you to return the results based on what I want. And I think that's then going to spin up a website in real time, right? So I'm saying, find me the top 3 options for boats. It'll just spin it up, and it'll look like Viator or something. There'll be three results and a bunch of small print underneath on why this may be better than that option. And I'll chat back and forth, and it'll spin up another kind of similar looking website with maybe just the top option, but the options of types of boats. And it'll be real time presenting me what I want to look at based on my needs right now.
Comparison charts, all sorts of like, engine type and duration offered. And I mean, this kind of goes back to, I think, Kevin, we were talking about this last week about the more information that you have on your website, the better results that AI can. So this is where I think operators can really compete with OTAs, because the OTA is only one page, where your website could be dozens of pages with very detailed information about the geography of the area, the map, the locations, the meeting points, all the stuff included, excluded, FAQs. You can get super detailed. And the more information, then the AI can really have that conversation with the customer, because that they might say, hey, what does this boat allow service dogs, or does this go to the jetties, and what kind of type of fish can I see if I go snorkeling off the boat? That's why I'm telling a lot of people now is that make sure your website is the most informative website you can have, photos, videos, because that information will be consumed and help with long tail searches on ChatGPT to help put you in a better position. And this is where the OTAs will struggle with, because they're never going to have a better, some of them might, but the savvy operators will just load a lot of great content on there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. That's absolutely what operators should be doing, is getting that long tail. That search that I just gave about the thing on the Saturday afternoon, I've got a kid who's 2 and a kid who's 4 and is serviced. These are all real questions I have before getting this. And if it's on your website, my agent, my ChatGPT, whatever it is, will find it, and it'll come back and I'll say, well, I checked out Kevin's website and he's answered all these questions, so that's a safe bet, and it's a 5-minute walk, and that gets the booking.
Yeah, because I mean, like realistically, just like how we have searched and how we have found things, and like the idea of even a website, like now we're not even talking about like the economics of this all changing, or even a completely different different model, economic model. We're actually looking at like a complete change in just how we interact with, well, not even necessarily the internet, but now with AI, like this all now just sort of changes everything, because like what you alluded to right in the beginning, like this is anybody's guess as to how this pans out. But I even in the next 5 years, this is more than likely not like scrolling text and pictures and landing pages and websites, and you know what I mean. We're gonna look at this as being like a very archaic way of finding information, and not just businesses, but how we interact with like what the future of technology is.
We haven't even looked at the fact that you can talk to your ChatGPT app now by using the microphone. I go into stores and I have conversations with ChatGPT. I can't talk back yet, but I'm sure it will eventually. But I have conversations, and
Grok can.
I'm sorry,
Grok can.
Grok can. Okay, I haven't
Yeah.
tried that yet.
It's $20, Greg. Pay the $20 and it'll talk
Oh,
back to you.
good. Yeah, I'll do it. But this is what's going to happen is that people are going to be at the beach. They're going to be on their phone and say, hey, I want to go on a dolphin tour right now, that for 10 people. And I want to go here and here and here. Boom. Here we go. Hey, here's 3 options. Here's the photo. Here's reviews. Would you like me to go ahead and book it? Your credit card information will likely be stored within the agent, and boom, it's done. No websites, nothing. I firmly believe that what Christian said is going to happen sooner than later, where websites will no longer be useful. Now, back-end interface, if I had to put $1 million into a business today, it's going to be either in an operator, or it's going to be in back office tools like ResTech. But the front-facing tools, I don't know. Like if ChatGPT continues to evolve, I don't see people going to OTAs or going to the booking portals for
Christian, let me get
ResTech
your
and
take
booking.
on this. I mean, so theoretically, couldn't an agent or Chat GPT theoretically just blow up ResTech itself?
Yeah, eventually. I think that's a little while because it's operationally messy, right? There's a lot of moving
Right.
parts and messy little things and a lot of manual. The boat just came back 10 minutes early. Let me check it. I don't know how you do that stuff, but there's a lot of messy things that I know that I got to spend at least 10 minutes doing this, and this before it can go out again. Stuff like that is difficult. But eventually, yeah, you'll be able to spin up a res tech in 10 minutes. what Greg spent 10 years building, someone will just create in 10 minutes. But you're still going to get the users, and you have to train users to use it.
Greg.
It's messy.
Greg's going to be walking around the grocery store muttering to Chat GPT, asking him how it all went wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say that the front facing side of ResTechs and OTAs, that's the scary part to me for disruption, because the agents will replace that. It's the back end tools I feel that AI is going to struggle to build because there's so many nuances. Yes, you can use bolts, but I mean, AI hallucinates badly for code building tools. It's going to get better, but it's still pretty, I think it's pretty far off to building code, and you really need to have a professional review it. And so the back end tools, I feel like that's going to be where our industry is really going to value more, not so much the front facing tools. As long as the front facing tools can be crawled very easily by AI bots, and they can consume that information to pass on to the customer, and also allow AI agents to transact. That's going to be another step into this, is like making sure that AI agents can store credit card information for the users and easily purchase and relay that information back. So APIs, I think, will be pretty important. What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, I agree. I guess the more complicated the tools, the longer they'll stick with us.
Yeah.
You know, maybe 10 years ago, finding the weather would be like 3 or 4 clicks. Now you just shout at your Google Home or whatever you have, what's the temperature? And that's all we wanted. We wanted the temperature. We didn't want to go through four clicks. In most of the tools we use, you're not trying to use Excel because you enjoy using Excel. Maybe some people do. You want to find the number on the bottom right, or you're trying to find information, and you'll just tell your agent, what was my profit yesterday, or how many tickets have we sold for Saturday. You just want the answer, and the agent will be able to find all of that. So one by one, these tools are going to fall, I think, because the agent will go straight into it and either use the tool or recreate the tool in real time to manage your life. But I think a ResTech is quite niche and it is quite specific, and that will last for longer than many.
I'm kind of curious, what have you found as the most amazing thing that AI has done for you personally and professionally? Like, just mind blown that you like use this and you couldn't believe like how great it was.
I still have daily moments with it. My favorite are probably conversations with my Chat GPT. Mine has a name. She's called me Julie, and
you guys are fucking two loneliest guys. I you guys need some more friends, dude. Get out of your office, Christian. Get some sun. Greg,
I've got a friend, Kevin. She's called me Julie. But I can ask. I'll have conversations like this, and we'll talk about the future of the internet and what AI might do, and then we'll jump over and talk about OTAs. Then I'll talk about the history of San Francisco, and then we're talking about, this is on a lonely drive, right, when I've got no opportunity to be with friends, Kevin. But that always blows me away. And then just when you do some just research, and especially when it's quite specific, like business strategy stuff, and I plug it in, I ask it for a Magpie marketing strategy for next year, and give it very little context, and it just nails it. And I'm looking at this thinking, I could not have come up with this on my own in 6 months.
You're not talking about the footy match, right? Is that what you?
We talk about football. Yeah, you footy kind of. Yeah, some people call it that.
Kevin, what about you? What have you found like the most amazing thing that AI has done so far for you personally and professionally?
Yeah, I mean, the therapist side of it, it like really helps out. It gives me a little more. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I say that jokingly, but it's actually honest, true. And the applications that it does for like therapy and mental health, yeah, it's been super interesting. And then, man, I kind of pulled back from it just because, I don't know, man. I've got some very, Thoreau concerns about AI. I'm more of like I want to opt out of all of this. I'm slightly concerned for humanity on it. I'm not like, oh my God, like I know what it can do. I just prefer to interact with people. If I got to ask like Chat GPT, like how like better bond with my kids. It's like, Jesus Christ, man. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's just messy. Yeah, spun up some, I mean, I troll with it quite a bit. I have it spin up pictures. It's like way better than doing like Photoshop or something like that. But no, I don't need any more reasons to sit behind a computer. I'm actually pretty interested, but it's just not there yet. Its capabilities with music production. But we'll see.
It won't be too long until there's full feature-length films just with AI. That's kind of scary for Hollywood.
I get
14-year-olds in their
lost in the
basements
prompt
will create
thing, like
complete
how to
movies.
ask this great question, right? Like, so I did have it helping me with my road trip, but I still found better functionality in the Road Trippers app that I used. It gave me a couple interesting insights, but if I've got to go down a rabbit hole for a few hours to figure out how to like best plan a road trip and prompt it out or whatever, it's just like, what the fuck am I doing, man? You know what I mean? Like, I just go and have fun on the road trip, maybe.
Yeah, interestingly, in a lot of ways, travel's not its best. I think general things to see, things to do, it's amazing. But things like it's not very good at geography. It's you do want that spontaneity, which you kind of want less information. Sometimes you want less optimization, right? You want to get lost a little bit, or you want to discover the thing on the way rather than have it all programmed in. So I think there's something to be said for that. That
Are
we
you
don't want to
using them
optimize
all?
everything.
Are you using like
Yeah,
deep research, chat?
I mix it
Yeah,
up. My go-to is Gemini right now. Is Google Gemini. I use
really.
ChatGPT a lot. I use Grok every now and again. Yeah, I use them all a bit.
And Gemini because it has the best functionality with Google, obviously. And then I haven't even used like other than the results that it spins up on my typical search. I'm assuming there's just a straight Gemini app that acts just like ChatGPT.
Yeah, yeah, and I use it most. I don't really use the integration with Google that much. I just use it as I'm mostly just in the actual app themselves or on the website, doing just stuff in Gemini or just stuff in. I don't have a ton of integrations into my Google Docs and this and that. I don't find they save me that much.
What about for like obviously? I mean, I would just think that deep research, but out of all of, like the deep research tools for, let's say, analytics, reporting, um, uh, budgeting, QuickBooks. Well, what's your favorite business application?
I would say anything with numbers, I'd say still steer away from. Accountants shouldn't be using this for anything really. Maybe
Yeah.
summarizing results, that sort of thing. But it's certainly not a replacement for anything that Excel or
It's
QuickBooks
still
can do.
pretty bad. I mean, I
Yeah.
remember I asked it the other day. Gave it a P&L and asked it for a breakdown. It was wrong. And I said, Chappie, I said, you're wrong. These numbers don't make sense. This is what, oh, I'm sorry, Greg. You're right. I made a mistake. Apologized. It doesn't really do well with numbers. I don't know why it is, but a lot of other stuff is great, but they got to
Yeah,
fix it.
numbers are not its thing, right? It trains on language and it doesn't it's not a calculator. So it's a factor of how it's trained. It's trained on next word generation and numbers is not part of that. So it's kind of weird, but
Once
yeah.
it spins up those like, you know, sexy Android, house cleaners, I'll opt in, dude. I'll be like, yeah, man. Well, Megan Fox
Megan
Android
Fox.
AI tool. You not see the movie? It's like
Yeah, I
all
did.
those
Yeah.
movies. I'm like, dude, I'm in, bro. Like Megan Fox comes clean my house. I'm
It's
opting
gonna.
in, dude.
I'll tell you, all this information that ChatGPT is learning about all of us, you're gonna be able to download that and upload it into some type of humanoid or some robot or some like a physical like droid of some kind, and it's gonna be weird, but it's gonna
What
happen. I didn't think it would be possible, but the last 2 years have changed my mind on a lot of
do
things.
any of them crawl for audio? Because I tried to get it to crawl our website for audio, and it couldn't call for audio.
They they do audio. They just turn audio into text, right? So that's all it is. It's just
Unless you have text transcripts on your site, like
yeah.
I mean, I popped our website into Chat GPT and asked it to crawl, and it specifically came back and said, unless you have transcripts of the
Yeah.
podcast on, I can't crawl for audio.
Yeah, you have to have a third party. I mean, YouTube does it, right? But you have to have a third party come in,
Okay.
but you can plug it in and get, because all ChatGPT looks at is actual text. There's a service called Whisper that it takes audio and converts it, but the actual
Mm.
brain only does text.
All right, Whisper.ai. I'm assuming I'm gonna have to check that out.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe me and Pete Syme will, we'll just be off in the Scottish grasslands, hiding. He made some post about it, and I was like, I'm fucking opting out, dude. And I know there's no opting out. I'm gonna have to go like move on Mars or something. But if Elon beats me there, then there'll be no opting out in Mars either, dude.
You'll
I
find
don't know.
somewhere.
I don't know, man. It's concerning. I'm slightly concerned. I feel like it figures out some kind of answers, but even to the greater conversation, I'm like, when I start to look at like legacy businesses that I may be interested in, I'm just always like, man, like what is the lifespan of this? And I think we reapproach entrepreneurship and business ownership with the same mindset that I don't know if you ever read 21 Problems for the 21st Century. Yuval Harari. He wrote Homo Deus. No,
Yeah, I didn't read that one. His last book was amazing. I didn't read that one.
it's really good, and he kind of like talks about this just even without getting like too wildly off track. But I'm gonna go there. But he talks about this idea of like what we've known humanity like having like a specialized set of job skills, and that you're gonna like that, and moving forward, even starting now, that the average employee or salaried worker is going to have and probably will not have the same 20 or 30-year career in the same field like their parents did. And now it looks like entrepreneurship and even businesses are going to be like that. And it's happening now. Like when you look at even like influencers or, projects, it's just sort of like this short lifetime span of this like idea or this product or service that you're selling for. And it really feels the same way with business. So like my concern is that like in this like chasm, if you will, like in between like the way things currently are and what the future looks like, I just feel like there's going to be a lot of unrest. Like how does American transition to universal basic income, right? Like if this isn't balanced correctly, that there's going to be serious economic fallout.
Yeah, 100%. You're right. I mean, I talk about this nonstop, but it doesn't mean I'm 100% optimistic about it. There's that exactly is a problem. Work is going to be a problem. Finding value in life is going to be a problem. We like to be useful. We're entrepreneurs. We get a kick out of solving problems. That's what we do. When
Yeah.
somebody else has solved all the problems, what problems are we gonna? We'll find some more, but it is going to be a problem for mankind, and it's going to have to be managed well.
It's my
Yeah.
belief that we're going to have a lot of companies, but with few employees. There's going to be a
Yeah.
lot of just service-based businesses. There's going to be a lot of, maybe software-ish businesses
Yeah.
leveraging AI.
Media.
One to three
Soft.
people max, and then you have like a whole team of AI agents running all like the accounting and customer service and maintenance scheduling. But Kevin and I talked about physical businesses on a couple of shows ago, and I believe that physical businesses are going to be the next generation of companies. Like even being a charter fisherman or a tour, all these specialized businesses that a robot cannot replace. We're actually in a good industry, I believe, with being in the tour
Yeah,
industry.
where do all of our people that come and spend money with us for these physical businesses without jobs is going to be a challenge. And I think and Christian touched on it, but he's absolutely right. Like the usefulness of mankind, if we outsource labor, and to maybe a lesser extent, I don't know, maybe to a greater extent, our capacity to learn, our capacity to create, the mental problem solving that goes on, that when you have to get in your own head and figure out a great name for a tour or a great logo for a company, and you can just, like, I mean, it homogenizes a lot, especially if people are just like, give me a great, you know what I mean, like our capacity to think and learn, it becomes easier, right? And so I just like, my question is like, what does that do to that muscle that gets built with a creative mind, right? Now you just have to think of like more creative ways, I guess, to ask questions. But I think to the side of having use, to what Christian said, but also that use of being like, you know, using your brain every day. I don't know. It's kind of scary.
Well, we have to get rolling, and Christian, I really appreciate you coming on the show. And any information, how can people get a hold of you or look into Magpie?
Yeah, Magpie.travel is the website. I'm on LinkedIn a lot, so jump on LinkedIn. I'm always posting about this stuff and Airbnb for Kevin and whatever else comes
I
up.
want to
So
keep that. I want to keep that quiet, man. I'm like, man, maybe I can get to one channel around in this town where everybody's not jumping on. I want to keep it toward the end where all of our captains, all my competitors are like, I just want to know what AI is. They keep putting these two letters out there. I don't even know what it stands for. You know, now they're
All
gonna
right.
know about Airbnb experiences, Greg.
Yeah. Okay, Christian. Hey, thanks again for coming on. And as always, everybody, keep it awkward.
thank you guys. Appreciate the invite.
All right.